بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وصلوات الله وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا رب الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. There's no microphone today. What are you hating for? So, I didn't see. Excellent. The truth is that I am surrounded by boxes that I have to get rid of. Otherwise, I'm going to be distracted throughout the lesson. Not that I'm ever distracted by chocolate, as you know, because man's is a rock. Man's is a rock, yani of Dwayne Johnson proportions. Sometimes soft around the edges, because you got to be these days, because people can't handle that kind of power and force 24/7. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the people online will be glad to know that this will be the last time, not the last time that there'll be chocolate, last time that there will be this kind of interruption to the class. Yeah, bring, don't worry. There's no shortage, Lala. Dr. Sabian bought celebrations. What are you celebrating, Lala?
I'm here in class.
That you're here in the class. So, can we give you commiserations back?
No.
So, the good news is that the class will not be disrupted after this day. You see, the problem is that we can't give it out. If the people are wondering why don't you give it out after Isha, it's because after Isha it's a madness in here. The uncles come, they kill us, and we're all under stress. We've got to pray immediately, so it's not happening. So until the time goes to after 8 o'clock, which is when we can then teach the class and then give out all the food, and there's nobody here, and we can eat and be merry and chat, and that can't happen for another couple of weeks. But today is the last day, because next week inshallah the dars is going to come from Aqsa, inshallah. And if you are met with a black screen, then that dars is not coming from Aqsa, and your boy is been hooked up somewhere. And what I want to say is that I'm expecting you guys to have a free AE campaign and get on that case and make sure that you get me out safe and sound. If you need any inspiration, then watch the film of my youth, Free Willy. Very nice film. Gave a lot of good hints and tips of how to launch a campaign against all the odds. But make sure you don't forget me, that's all. Yes? The lesson after that then, 2 weeks time, we'll be back to post-Isha. Isn't it, Shaz?
Which will be?
So progressively getting to a set time. But it will be next week, not next week's lesson. Next week's lesson is going to be on, well, about to say time. Time is next week.
8 p.m. next week. We can make it 8 p.m. as well, but down next week.
No, what's the one after in 2 weeks' time? 8:50.
Yes.
8:30 Isha.
8:30 Isha, 8:50, and then the week after that we're 8:20 to on. So 16th of October we'll be back to our normal regular slot.
16th of October will be 8:28 onwards.
Yeah.
But next week's lesson, how you've decided to be, why don't you make it at 8:50 then? You're saying that the week after it's 8:50, yeah?
Yeah.
So make next week 8:50 as well then.
Isha, isn't it?
Okay.
Isha.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense. It makes sense. 8:50. All right. So
That's 10:15 Palestine, though.
yeah,
Because I'm just thinking.
you are thinking like that. You are an optimist, mashallah. I like your optimism. So anyway, so
He's gonna be
like
on
I said,
he's gonna be on that minibus now.
he's right. So there's so much. Obviously I get a bit confused. Yeah. So I think I have a plan. This is from Maria in the States. Okay.
That's some mal.
Yeah. Huh?
That's some mal.
That's Asl Mal, by the way. That's Godiva. Okay.
So send that for us, man.
However, there is a sign here which indicates that it's for the sisters. Yeah. It says there. It says dark chocolate with velvety dark chocolate filling,
Oh, that's it.
otherwise known as sisters.
She did
You know,
mention-
they
she
are.
mentioned that.
Eh?
She mentioned that.
She mentioned that. And I think I can see, no, Asma, where's Rabia?
No.
She here? She's here, okay, that's fine. Rabia is also, she laid a claim to it. But you know what, the reason why it's called Sisters Chocolates, because they're all concerned about, their hearts and their health, and dark chocolate's good for you and all this bakwas, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't put on weight, and it's got antioxidant, blah blah, bakwas, whatever. So, I say that me being the generous, by the way, each one of these is at least £1. Gotta be. I did taste one, by the way. Yeah, and it's expensive. But I advise everybody that if you're going to open it, you need to open it very carefully, because it's kind of very crumbly, and I do not want a mess in my masjid. You ready to catch this, yeah? Oh, yes. Well done. Right. Everybody online, just bear with us, okay? Don't look at this, by the way. I'm not even joking. That is actually how heavy as it is. Okay? Arfan, you know the time to walk in. Well done, bro. So, this is courtesy of Ghazala. Okay? Glover. Not auntie there trying to nick everybody's thinking, okay? So, this one, I don't know what's happening, but I don't know whether it has sisters on it or not, but I'll tell you. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my God. Terry's. Look at that baby.
Yeah, that's not for sisters.
That's not for sisters. That says, look at it, subhanAllah, it says real brothers. It says real brothers. Asl mal, that is. Ghazala Glover, you smashed it. Oh my God. Right, I just want to work out. We've got to work out an equitable distribution system, okay? Because I think that the way that this has got to be distributed, the fairest way. What did we do last week? We said one piece between four. No, we said one bar between 4 women. Yeah. So 1 bar, because it was, and then in the end you basically took, I think, by 2, because I realized that you lot were not being very honest. Yeah. So I reckon this is what is it, a asal ball? Yeah. Is that 20 pieces in that? That's not, is it? 8 pieces. Lala, come on, Cam. Not even you can do that, bro.
Watch me.
Oh. 1 second. This is, I can't remember how many this is yet, but
Sure they're not halal then.
no, I can't open this one right yet. But I think yeah, 2 between, no, 1 between 3, 4, 3, or 3. Okay, all right. I think it goes by. I think that the division should go based upon how much brain energy is used in a class. So on that hisab, I get a tray. I think that's only fair. I don't, we're in a new era right now where people, justice is a subjective term. It's how everybody understands it. But I'm sure that you got, oh, right. Okay. Seriously, come on, be honest now. How are we dividing this? There's no way I'm giving one person each a box.
Why not?
Because it's not enough.
We start from
Why
the
not?
front and carry on.
No, we don't start from the front. We start from the asl people. You know what it is? I'll tell you how this is going to work. I know how this is going to work. Do you have a suggestion how it's going to work? So.
Suggestion is that the other chocolates that you handed out had nuts in it. So first of all, you should decide if anybody has nut allergies, and they should
Who flipping called health and safety? Protocol. That's a good one. Yep. Let everybody, the chocolate ones has got nuts, and these have got allergies to women. Okay. This one has a different type of nut, which all women, they come out in big spots. So that's, you know what? I'm glad you spoke up when you spoke up. Very good shout. Yes. Next point. That's what, you know what? You keep on speaking because you are excellent. Okay. Those are okay for women, but they do have nuts. So please, if you have a nut allergy, don't take those. These are just allergic to women.
Sorry, 1 point.
Yes.
I am allergic to nuts.
Okay, yeah. So you don't touch those thingies, and we'll give you a Ferrero. No, not Ferrero Rocher. That's full of nuts. Okay. I'll give you some celebrations. Don't worry. I look after everybody. Equal opportunities. I don't mess about like that. I'm legit guy. I want you to know. Right. This is how it happens. Okay. The legit students are the ones who get a full kebab. Okay, Dr. Arfan. Yes, because he's legit. Islam. Yep, Islam has been here for a long time.
Can I sniff it? You're not
Islam. No. He's a legit guy. Zakaria has been a legit guy. Zakaria. Yeah. Yahya is a legit guy. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Just wait. Isa has been a legit guy. Zaf.
It's a family affair, isn't it?
Shazad is a legit guy.
It's that too, William.
Oh, jackpot. Okay. Right. You've been a legit guy. Okay. Jiva's legit. From the original. You're not legit. You come what for 4 days, 5 days in your life? Okay, right. Who else is legit? Rabia is legit. Alright, you see this is a difficult throw. Okay, alright. And that's the legit people that I can see that are regular students that have been here for a long time from the beginning. Okay? I know everybody online is freaking out. Asma. Yep, there we go. Okay. Alright. Now it needs to be those people who have been legit in the last few years. Oh, I forgot Usman. Sorry. Right. Don't you dare.
I can't have 100. This isn't mine, by the way. I'm going to have my own.
Right, so who's been around for the last few years? Omar, yeah. Omar's done alright. Okay. Alright. Atif's done alright. Yeah, Atif's alright. And yeah, you can have Saf, yeah, alright, okay. Right. From you ladies, yeah, who else has kind of made a kind of okay, Mani's kind of come. Alright, there you go. Right. Have I given some to you lot? Right. Alright, the rest of you lot are gonna have to share. That's it. Okay? You lot are gonna have to share. How many we got left? Inshallah, alright. Lala, send this out. Okay, there you go.
Nothing else in the bags.
There's plenty more. Okay, hold on a second. Alright. Alright, there we go. Alright. Just so in camera they don't think that we don't look after people.
Where are they from?
Okay. Okay, Hibab, take this and pass it around.
Yeah, I've no Nadir in it.
Yep, that's Nadir. This is from Nadir, folks, from Luton. Good man, Nadir. Okay. That's got nuts in it, okay, young lady? Alright, don't say I don't look after you, alright? Okay. I personally think you got to be careful that, about that you might have to give it to the men of your house, that Terry's. I'm telling you, it's not a good look.
They're the legit ones. Watch them take all the Mars out.
Have I seen what? Oh, I saw twirl orange.
Bucket full of Mars at the end of it.
You're too right, I saw twirl orange. Okay, this is for you, chocolate peanut free. And this is peanut free. There you go. Alright? Okay, boys and girls, pass that one around. Okay. Alright, I'm feeling generous today. I'm gonna chuck a few in. Alright? There you can have Firdausi. Pick that one up. Okay, and you can catch that one. Allahu Akbar.
Health and safety, what's one's eye there?
Okay, Komo, you can catch that one. Yeah, well done. Yeah. And Ruba, maybe you can do a better job. Okay. Alright. And we'll throw what? No, that's enough. That's enough. I'm not going to have enough left. How are we doing over there dividing?
No, where are they?
Where are they? Where's the? You know what? Mu'min's been around for a long time, man. Mu'min done well. Mu'min always comes in late all the time, but he always makes it. All right, folks. Can we do some work today or what? People literally are having right.
I'm worried about you, man.
All right.
Your selections.
There we go. No. Where's the chocolate oranges? I'm telling you, if I don't see them passed around, there's gonna be beats.
Well, you've got more, haven't
No, I haven't. I passed it all out. What are you on about? This is my tray. I've halved my tray, by the way. Yeah, where are they? They're meant to be shared out.
This is
You're damn right you got enough. Hasib, take this one, okay?
I got one, don't worry.
Okay, no, pass it around. These Thai packies, if anyone touches my, you know what? I need to.
These are the real deal over here. What are you talking about?
You lot, yeah, I can't trust you lot. I know that my head's gonna be turned and you lot are gonna come and do something. You lot are dreaming. Right, are you lot just gonna doss about all this time or what? Right, today By the way, on a serious note, okay, we did an assessment of our new costs. We're looking to develop a few things. Have people send in money instead of chocolate. Wouldn't that be better? Innit? You know what I mean? Anyway, so Shazad, if you can post the link. Anybody who wishes to donate per month for this project, the LP project, okay, then there's a link and a couple of quid a month, not going to hurt anybody, and a big return. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Still the biggest class, online, longest, blah, 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 all that kind of behavior. Right. The Arabic text, Lala. Galaxy is just too sick, I swear. What's happening, dog? You came at a good time. What's happening, Hubs? Oh, wow, you sick guy. ويستعيذ من عذاب جهنم وعذاب القبر وفتنة المحيا والممات وفتنة المسيح الدجال ويدعو بما ورد. Thank you very much, Mabel. I'm going to have this chocolate, then we're going to get serious, okay? Because that's enough. English. Bad wishes. Is this flipping stain in the picture? Get out.
No, it is,
Yeah, thank you very much. Then we're still in the tashahhud part. Then he seeks refuge from the punishment of hell. We've done that. And the punishment of the grave. We've done that. The punishment of life and the punishment of death. We've done that. And the punishment of the false Messiah, which is what we're going to do today, supplicating with that which is narrated. All right. In the commentary, we're on page 190. وَفِتْنَةَ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. On a serious note, I wanted to get the chocolate out of the way because this is not a joke subject. This is a very, very serious one. And we like to mess about and have fun. It's a very important part of our class. It will never stop. It's time to get serious, then we'll also get serious as well. Notice that it's the last one. Notice that it has been mentioned whilst it's something that is as serious as death, but is very much part of life as well. It's actually covered when you say, and I seek refuge with you from that which is, fitnat al-mahya, the fitna of life, and the fitna of death. It falls into both categories, specifically into life, of course, and yet the Prophet ﷺ saw it important enough to then give it its own mention, like it almost its own double kind of repetition, double category. Yeah? So, let's break it down. To be honest, I didn't really want to go into any kind of detail. I'm not a big fan of this kind of subject. I know it's Islamic Speakers Paradise. They love this stuff, which in essence, I don't have a lecture on this stuff because I'm not one to like that. But I know Muslims love end of days and judgment signs and all the rest of it. It's an exciting kind of subject. It's like kind of film materials, all fantasy type kind of things. And so people get excited. They love to hear their kind of lectures and, scare tactics, scare kind of, rhetoric and whatever. However, it is a serious subject that should be looked at. And Sheikh Uthaymeen goes into about 7, 8, 9 pages of some detail. I think we can cover that today quite easily. Okay? So at the top of page 190, وَفِتْنَةِ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ, the fitna of a Dajjal. Fitna, the trial. Fitna, the test. Fitna does not have a positive connotation. Normally is some kind of punishment or will lead to punishment. However, if a person is able to pass it, then it becomes a source of reward. It becomes a source of excellence for that person. Can we have phones on silent, please? The Masih al-Masih al-Dajjal, the word, 2 words, the false Messiah. Al-Masih is, you can see even in Arabic, Al-Masih is known as Messiah, as the word. But the Messiah is not an English word anyway. But Al-Masih is not referring to just the translation Messiah. It actually comes from Al-Masih. Now, it might be that when you go back from a language's point of view, you find that Messiah does mean that, okay? From whatever its original word is. But the Prophet ﷺ did say that he would effectively flow through the earth. He has every ability that a person can imagine and also cannot imagine. And that's why the masah is wiping. We make masah on our socks. Yeah? So masah, he is the masih from the verb fa'il, means that that's what he does very naturally, very easily. He will basically wipe the surface of the earth. He will wipe it in every way, in a metaphorical way and in a real way. The metaphorical is that he will flow through the earth and cover vast distances, and nothing will be left safe, and so on. Physically as well, in a real sense as well, the nature of his movement is not clear, but many hadith describe some of his actions. So for example, he will touch earth, and earth which is dead will bring life. So plants will come forth and water will come forth. And in one hadith which is very famous, the Prophet ﷺ said that the kunuz, the treasures of the earth, will come out without any physical work. So whether that's referring to oil, whether that's referring to gold and silver, kunuz is generally classically referred to gold and silver, but it means treasure, which means things of great value. So it's not possible. There'll be crops, for example, that have failed. There will be a massive famine and drought at that time, which adds to the trial, and he will wipe. So he actually does wipe. Not only does he wipe the surface by his steps and indicates, but he physically wipes as well. So we have, for example, those that have herds of livestock that are dependent upon them, and they're dry, meaning they're not giving any milk. They've now become shrunken, and and he will wipe, and they will become full. The others will become full. The milk will start to flow. So that's why he has the word al-Masih. And the second word is Dajjal, and the Dajjal comes from a Dajjal, and Dajjal means fraud. If you just said Dajjal without ad-Dajjal means the false Messiah. But Dajjal is also a word that we use for charlatans, imposters, conmen, illusionists. He's a Dajjal. Dajjal is trickery. Dajjal is camouflage, right? You cover yourself and you make yourself look like something, and you're not, but you're something else. So it's fooling the people, illusions, and that's, of course, he is that in a real way, and he uses it as well. So he is the ultimate imposter because he would claim to be God. First he will claim to be, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but he'll claim to be Muslim, then he'll claim to be a prophet, then he'll claim to be God. It will be a steady progression. So he's false in that sense, but he's also going to use illusions as well, not just as an imposter himself, but he will do things. He will make things appear. So the idea of the most famous one is the idea that he will actually go, I'm going a bit out of order, but he will make the Jannah look like Nar, and he will make the Nar look like Jannah. So he has that ability to be able to have visual illusions. At the same time, it's not a complete illusion, because there is a real physical reality to what people enter into. So when they actually go in, the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever listens to him and enters into his Jannah will enter into the fire. So that shows actually it's not even an illusion. It's real, but the outside of it is the illusion part. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ described Al-Masih al-Dajjal as well. Shaykh Uthaymeen wants to describe some of it. He says he will, one of the reasons it's called the Masih is because he will wipe, or he will fly across the earth so quickly. He will move very quickly, float across the earth. And he's also known as a Masih because his Mamsuh al-Ain. Now, Mamsuh al-Ain, if we translate it literally, means that his eye is wiped. Everybody thinks of, again, this is ironic because we're going Aqsa next week, and one of the things that I noticed very much last time, I think I spoke about it here as well, is how much the latent consumption, which remains latent, of our childhoods in this country and in the West, of the biblical narrative and the Western narrative about prophets and movies and things, ideas of Jesus, Moses, 10 Commandments, Jews, these kind of things, and how we understand what the prophets, what we took from popular culture as opposed to reading our own books and going to our own lessons. It remains latent. And when it gets activated, when you hear the word, then you've got a dominant kind of feature and emotions. And what I mentioned last time is that I saw people getting incredibly emotional about utter fake nonsense in Aqsa, because they're actually thinking, oh, really, Isa got crucified. proper practicing Muslims, and that latent belief comes out in their aqidah. Likewise, we have popular stories. Obviously, this is a Western, Roman kind of culture, and what's the word? Vikings and all the nonsense, whatever that we've had through the through the Saxons, Anglo-Saxon roots. And so, for example, the kind of mythology that we know about the concept of one-eyed is Cyclops, and the Prophet ﷺ said that he is one-eyed. Dajjal is one-eyed. So everybody believes that he's got like this one big dirty eye, in the middle of his head, because that's the only thing that we know, Cyclops. That's what we've grown up to be. And so, and I hope, because like I said, I don't like this area. I don't want to say I don't like this area, but I get very bored of speakers and Muslim personalities just focusing on just giving the crowd, crowd pleasers. They speak a lot about this subject because the people want to know. So I don't really access all of that. But I am hoping, if you've consumed that content, that your scholars and speakers are responsible enough to explain why this is wrong and why it's important to correct. If they haven't, let me tell you that the longer that we allow this kind of idea to perpetuate, just misinterpretation of what it means that he is one-eyed, one-eyed, even though the hadith doesn't even say that. He says a'war, which means that he's blind in one eye. Actually, that's what it means, right? The more we allow translations and cassettes and videos and to spread saying he's one-eyed, and we're all thinking it's Cyclops, and we don't correct that, it then becomes fantastical. It becomes super easy for us to recognize him. It becomes very then easy for us. If someone's only got a Cyclops, we're going to spot that guy, every day of the week. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's the damage right there. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized him and described him in so much detail to make it clear you can't recognize him. And that it's only the absolute top level believer that can see kafara on his head. The majority miss it. And even those who have doubts, in their interactions with him, their doubts are taken away. And he changes their iman for kufr. And I'll read some of the hadith that come. So it's important that when you see him, you're not going to recognize him. And even though he is one-eyed, the Prophet ﷺ said that he is لأنه أعور العين اليمنى, that his right eye is blind. It's not that he has one eye, he has two eyes. His right one is mamsuh al-ain. It's like it's been wiped. Now what that means we don't know, but the scholars pretty much said two things, because one of the hadith mentions it's like a grape floating in water. Okay, now a grape floating in water is the analogy which is given. How that translates into real life, I don't know. Does it mean that it's detached? Does it mean that it's got a very weak, what's the stalk called? Where's Zafcon? What's the stalk of the eye called? The optic nerve. Maybe that is only hanging from that way. However, the other hadith indicate, especially with the word mamsuh, is that it indicates sunken. It's gone very deep in. So we don't know the nature of the exact disability. I've got an eye specialist now. I'm looking at the spinal guy. How would an eye? How would you describe? If I said to you two words, if I gave you two characteristics, I said that it feels like it looks like it's meant to be floating, and it feels like it is sunken. Do they fit?
Yeah, it would be along the lines of if they got a squint, and also the cornea can go opaque.
The cornea goes opaque.
With a scar, it can either be. For various, you can get scars on your cornea looks opaque, and you can get this.
The appearance meaning that it looks like the peeled grape.
It looks milky white.
Okay.
And it can look like it's. So you can't really tell if it's pointing in the right direction, which is where I think the floating would come from.
So the straightness is gone.
Yeah,
It's like it's now been juxtaposed in a different, like it's floating, loose.
And it would be opaque, so you wouldn't see a pupil. You would see the brown of the eye would be milky white, cornea scarred over. They might also be squinted, so it would look like it's kind of off in the wrong direction. So that gives the appearance of float.
Right.
You see people sometimes like that.
Right. So I think what's useful for us to understand is that this is not as abnormal as a person might think. Meaning that everybody notices someone who's got a dodgy eye, but it's not one eye in the middle of the head. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's important. Because everything now that the Prophet ﷺ describes is that even though we've been given a clue and that's going to help us, the rest of the stuff is really problematic for the believer. And let's have a look at what that is. If the Prophet, if someone asks, why is it that he is, why has he been given his individual own category, Masih al-Dajjal? Because the Prophet ﷺ said that it is without any restriction, the greatest fitna that will ever afflict mankind. And in the hadith which is famous, the Prophet ﷺ said, منذ خلق آدم, since Adam was created, there will never be a fitna, a trial greater than the appearance and the coming of a Masih al-Dajjal. In the other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that there has never been a prophet that has ever been sent except that he warned his people about a Dajjal. Every single prophet in every single era warned the people of Al-Masih al-Dajjal. The Prophet ﷺ said, and the reason that they did that is because of the nature of his threat, which is going to come in a second as well. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, إِن يَخْرُجْ وَأَنَا فِيكُمْ فَأَنَا حَجِيجُهُ دُونَكُمْ. If he comes whilst I am still amongst you, then you leave it to me. If he comes whilst I am still amongst you, you leave it to me. وَإِن يَخْرُجْ وَلَسْتُ فِيكُمْ. If he comes and I am not amongst you, then every man for himself. وَاللَّهُ خَلِيفَتِي عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Every man for himself, but I have left behind Allah for every Muslim. I have left behind the greatest, for every Muslim to depend upon. This hadith is the famous one narrated by Imam Muslim, hadith number 2937. Let's talk a little bit about him in a more logical kind of order. That's like, I guess, an introduction. So Shaykh Uthaymeen at the bottom of 191, he goes, right, let's have a look at some issues. The first of them, his time, his era. When will it be? Answer, the end of time. That's all we know. We know that he comes from the end of time. He is from the signs of the end of time. Huwa min alamat as-sa'a. So he himself, his appearance is an establishment of the end of the Day of Judgment. Okay? Yes?
And why did the Prophet ﷺ say that if he comes while I'm here? Does that not indicate that would it not be given it would be after?
Remember what we said, I don't know whether last week or the week before, or I might be getting mixed up, but the question was, by the way, that why would the Prophet ﷺ say, if it's at the end of times, then why would he say, if he comes and I am here? Because at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the companions thought that was the end of time. They themselves not only believed that, but the Prophet ﷺ said that I am the onset of the end of time. So when we look at, I always give the example of the hourglass. The hourglass got turned as soon as Adam got sent to earth. So as soon as he was expelled and he came to earth, then time has been ticking. We are now, in relative terms of the universe, time, all that, behavior, physics behavior, we're on the last few grains. The last few grains, or you can even argue the penultimate grain, if there was 2 grains left, the penultimate grain which allows the last grain to fall was the coming of the Prophet ﷺ. He is the onset of the Day of Judgment. It was never ever going to happen until the Prophet ﷺ activates it. Think about it. All of the prophets been sent, all of the messengers been sent, all of the trials have been sent. The Prophet ﷺ makes it super clear that everybody's message was a continuous one except his, and his is the end of the messages. He is the last of the prophets. So when he comes, Judgment Day is in. Whether it happens now within 10 days, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, the companions and the Salaf at that time, they were of a variety of different opinions. None of them at that time thought it's happening in 1,000 years, or they all thought it was happening in their lifetimes. And that's very, very important. So that explains why he said that.
Is it also because the Prophet could not recall when?
Is it because the Prophet ﷺ
Could not recall.
could not recall when?
Yeah.
Absolutely he couldn't recall when, because it's from the ghaib. Nobody knows the sa'ah except Allah. That is something specific to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's only out of Allah's mercy that he gives us signs and indications to shake people, to bring them back. So we don't know. But we know it's close. We know it's close. Now, it is a point that is brought up here. I don't know whether we should go... I'll mention it here, but let's also then say it in its right place as well. I say it could happen anytime. And that's what gets all of the people started about, Dajjal is not a human, it's a system. It's the banking system, it's the war system, it's nuclear weapons, it's the Jews, it's the X, it's the Y. That standard kind of behavior. Now, there is a level of nonsense there, but there's also a potential of truth to it as well. The nonsense is that this is sometimes the cover story for people who are not very comfortable with the Quran and Sunnah in the first place. What I mean by that, as it will become clear later, is that in the time, I mentioned this last week and week before, and I mention it all the time because I do think this is our big challenge of modernity. Our empirical mind is that if we can't see it, we can't prove it, then we don't believe it. Simple as that. And when it comes to an issue of deen, which is all based upon belief in the ghaib, okay, then you'll find that these are the people who are at the forefront of saying that Dajjal is not a human, Dajjal is not real, it's a system. And some of the hadith that speak about Dajjal, they would interpret in very kind of metaphysical ways, because for them the metaphysical reality, or the physical reality I should say rather, is the primary reality, and the metaphysical and the spiritual and that which they don't understand is all to be explained in terms of reference to the physical. So if they can't see it and they can't explain it, it's got to be reduced to that. And that is, of course, a problem. That's what leads to opinions like Dajjal has already come. Dajjal is not, it's not possible for one man to do all these kind of things and to do the kind of, at the numbers and the speed and whatever. And to be honest, from a simple scientific point of view, it is not possible. The science is not even created for someone like Dajjal to have the impact that he would, to have the devastating impact of destruction. And then, we're going to come across his most famous hadith when he strikes a person in half and then he brings the kid back together again. So he will actually walk through and then bring him back together, and then you will see obviously what happens after that. So on one point, we've got to be careful about people who make it too metaphorical. At the same time, the one thing I do like about listening to some of these theories about what others might call the pre-Dajjalic system, or the environment which is ripe and making it ripe for Dajjal, is that it does emphasize that we are at the end of time. And never forget that the end of times is the worst of times. That's what you have to remember. So if we look around and see what you are noticing every day, okay? People focus on natural disaster. I don't know why. Is it an emotional thing? Kashmir at the moment is a big focal point. And there's let's just take it from a purely dispassionate numbers point of view. There's not many dead at all, and there's not many injured at all. Let's look at the China situation. The China situation is not 100 or 1,000,000. It's 1,000,000,000,000 times worse than what's happening in Pakistan. There is a concerted, intentional, ideological destruction of the deen in the hearts and minds of all of the people in those areas, and a killing off of their generations to come. Let alone just the sheer numbers of those who've been killed or imprisoned or whatever, if you're just looking at it from a numbers game. And what I mean is that can only, so you've got huge numbers of deaths and fitna and so on, and we know that from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as well as common sense, because if you had a choice now to go back again and choose any era that you wanted to live in, you'd want to live at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, if for no other reason other than to be forgiven. Or to just be able to just get out of this nonsense and get the free ride to Jannah. They the nature of people is that we need leaders, and leaders inspire us, motivate us, and they lead us and they guide us. And if you're a top leader, then you will take people wherever you want them. If you're a top leader, and it doesn't matter how much you don't like or don't want to follow, whatever. If you've got that kind of leader, they will make up for all of your deficiencies. So if you're with the Prophet ﷺ, he's pulling you through. So khalas, I'll take that, because every other time is a risk. So that's just common sense. As for the statements, then the Prophet ﷺ made it very, very clear that at the end of time, he said that the Sa'ah will not be established except ala shirar al-nas, except upon the most evil of people. The believers will be taken away. The believers will be spared all of the major fitna of that last moment. The beast, the fire, the complete destruction of time and space and everything. The believers will be spared because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that the wind will come and it will take all the souls of the believers. I'm telling you, I told you this before, this Avengers Bakwasi always copies the deen. I've told you that. Marvel, whatever, they're all poor man's yani religion. Or I told you before, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman is all based upon the prophets. Yep, all of them. They take the prophetic story, a template, and they fantasize it and all the rest of it and add all this. But actually, it's always, don't know who you are, go through a broken time, rediscovery, huge power. With huge power comes great responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And then go and then save the people. That's the prophetic model. It's always has been. But they just changed the costume, latex, color, whatever. So, likewise, some of these hadith that talk about Armageddon and the end of times, whatever, are what create, obviously, the excitement of our movie industry as well. So I want you to know that in principle, the worst of people are there at that time. Okay? The worst of people at that time. That therefore indicates, my mind's gone, I don't even know what it was indicating. Anyway, forget that. End of time. Now, second, where is he from? Where is he? Where is he going to come from? Where is he going to go? Some hadith indicate that towards the east. The Prophet ﷺ always used to call it from the mashriq, from the east. Now the east, I'm saying obviously my east, okay, is, if you look at the Jazirah al-Arab, the Arabian Peninsula at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, east is obviously Afghanistan, Pakistan, okay? That's not even meant to be funny, but it is a bit worrying, okay? And obviously all of the Caucasus and whatever. Classically, this is referred to as Khurasan and Isfahan, okay? And Isfahan and Khurasan are very loose territories back then, and even now, even looser. So that we call Palestine, Jordan, thingy, we all have different words for it, okay? The actual phrase is Sham. Sham is that entire region, 4 or 5 countries, whatever it is. There's no such thing as countries in Sharia. Okay, so it's Sham, the entire region, and even now people argue about political boundaries and all the rest of it. Sham is quite easy. People, there's some discussions, right, about Sham only meaning Aqsa, and some said that Sham only refers to Damascus. Some said it only means to Syria. Some made it as wide as possible and took that whole what the English used to call the Levant. Okay, and the Levant is probably the best description for what we know as a Sham. But then Iran, for example. Iran is not a word we are familiar with back in the day. Isfahan is today a city in Iran. Is it central Iran? I think so. Yeah, like bang in the middle kind of almost, huh? Yeah. But it's almost like the city took the definition of the country almost. It's not indicating the city itself, but the region. And Khurasan, when it's used, is also a loose representation to Iran, Persia, Transoxania, right? Transoxania is probably that word which is the best, or one of them. It's referring to Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, the bottom part of Russia. Who knows? Maybe the top part of Russia at that time. China, right? So when he says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he's from the Mashriq, from the east, I want all this region for you to, basically Asia. That side of the Middle East and Asia. And Iran is definitely involved in this somewhere. Iran is major, sounding like flipping Trump. Yeah, okay. Iran is definitely involved somewhere. Okay. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in a hadith which is narrated by Bukhari, Al-fitna ha huna wa ashara ila al-mashriq. That fitna comes from here, and he pointed towards the east. So when he points to the east, to them, there in Medina, he's referring to Iraq, Iran. It's like a wide circle. It's not just straight east. So we have other hadith which indicate Iraq is very much a key part of this. Iran a part of it, and then everything then to the bottom of it and further, which basically means Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Asia. Everything. Bangladesh get away with it, of course, because they were miskin, only 3 days old. Right. فالمشرق. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's the hadith. Now, Uthaymin alayhi rahmatullah, he says that he is somewhere from this region, from the east. He will pass by Al-Isfahan. He will go through Iran, and he will enter the Arabian, the basic peninsula between Syria and Iraq. He will have all of this region under his control, but he has only one target. and that is Medina. He only wants Medina. He doesn't want anywhere else. ليس له هم إلا مدينة إلا المدينة. Why? Because the MVP is there, and that's the Prophet ﷺ. He wants the Prophet ﷺ. That's why the Prophet ﷺ in a number of hadith, I'm just being very, very brief here. He said, leave this to me. Most of his physical training and preparation for war, I don't want to say most, that's difficult, but it was very much him preparing for Dajjal. He was ready to take on Dajjal, and even though he ﷺ then later tells us there's actually Isa that's going to kill him, but he doesn't know when Isa is going to come. There's already been hundreds and hundreds of years of the raising of Isa ﷺ, right? So it's very interesting, that dynamic, that he's ready to do it, but he was also telling that Isa ﷺ is the one who's eventually going to do it. Does that mean that these are hadith that are coming towards the end of his life, where he's realizing that it's not going to happen anymore? Possibly. Allah knows best. It's a good question for the senior scholars. Allahu ta'ala a'lam. His target is Medina, but he will never be able to get in. It is haram for him. He is unable to enter the sanctity because of the angels that are upon its doors. So we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about these angels that are guarding effectively the gates to Medina. These gates are a metaphysical reality that we don't know, we don't understand, we can't see them. So anyway, he won't be able to get in. So he will then go and he will be in this kind of area, Syria, Iraq, East, and he will have an army. And this army, those followers of him, some will just be fans and followers and believers, and others will be an actual formal army. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says that he will have 70,000 of the Jews of Asfahan. Iranian Jews is a rough translation in modern times. What the word actually meant, whether it means, the problem is that if you say Iranian Jews, it kind of sounds like a contradiction. But if I said to you that these are Jews from that region before Iran was even Iran, then it makes more sense. Like you will go to Kazakhstan, for example, you see big communities of Jews. You go to Afghanistan, for example, you see big communities of Jews that were there way before anyone started practicing Islam or anything like that. You get what I'm trying to say? So we've got to kind of blank our own idea of that. Yeah.
Going back to when you mentioned the angels surrounding the city of Medina, what's defined as the city of Medina?
Yeah, in this hadith?
No, in general, is it modern day Medina or is it when
the question is that these angels that are guarding the city of Medina, is it what part of Medina? The whole Medina? Is it the Haram? They differed over it according to their own evidences. I don't have a particular opinion. I don't think, because the word is Medina, it's not Haram.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, the action is all in the Haram. So that's why the scholars have got those two opinions.
Medina wasn't as big as it is.
Oh no, it's nothing like the greater Medina of today where everything is given a municipality kind of connection. No. Okay. So he will have a large army. These are formal, 70,000 of the Jews of Asfahan, and then others as well. The Prophet ﷺ is taking this seriously. He said in the hadith, which is narrated, there are many narrations of these hadiths, but in one of them, Ya ibadallah, fathbutu. So, O servants of Allah, be ready and be firm for when He comes. And the reason that he does that is because of this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever hears of a Dajjal, then let him flee. Because a man will not go to him except that he is a believer, and he will not remain with him until he follows him and takes upon all of his doubts or his beliefs. He will go to him as a Muslim and he will leave him as a kafir. And this hadith obviously is an important one, because we do kind of, when everybody hears that in this context, there's not a single person here trying to make excuses for Dajjal. Right? Everybody's terrified. They're thinking that he's probably going to launch a spell on you. That, it's a case of if I open my eyes, I see him, I'm going to turn to stone. All of that kind of thing. So you've got real fear. The really important point here is that, is there a more general lesson? And there is. When we say avoid the people of bid'ah, avoid the people of, yani eloquence and so on, and people who are causing problems in the deen, the munafiqeen, for example. This is a lesson that's to be applied to other people who are the minor dajjals. Okay, there are minor dajjals that are going to be in every era, false imposters, those people who are giving da'wah to a wrong, whether it's a kharij kind of khariji type of da'wah to khuruj, right? Meaning, make them, we've got to have Muslim leaders, and if we're not, then kill everybody until we actually get it. Khuruj, the kind of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, that kind of da'wah. Then it's the exact opposite to that, which is so super liberal and so kind of, mythical perennialism. It's all love and, kumbaya and all the rest of it. Then you got colors and shades in the middle of deviant groups and aqaid. And it's important for us to know that, obviously I did this podcast last week, and a lot of folks have been asking me that question. They said, you said in there that you should take his good and leave his bad. They were specifically talking about Hamza Yusuf and, the comments that he made about whatever, about Syria and all the rest of it. It doesn't matter what he makes comments on, and it doesn't matter what I make comments on. There's got to be a basic system that everybody has, which is to avoid the good and take the bad. The problem, avoid the bad and take the good. The problem is that who has the ability to be able to work out what is the good and what's the bad? And who has the ability to resist the bad when he's meant to be trying to avoid it or filter it? And that's a valid point. That's a valid criticism of this maxim. And we do take it very lightly until a family member falls into it, and then you get a phone call and say that my brother, my father, my wife has been listening to this, that, whatever, and it causes havoc. It causes havoc. And if it only causes havoc in money and in divorce and whatever, then Allah blessed you. He saved you. Because really, the real havoc is when He takes you away. When He takes you away into khuruj, or takes you away into perennialism, or takes you away into some Sufi baqwas, or some other extremist, I don't know, whatever, the opposite. And Shia, or Qadianis, or whatever, whatnot. These are all people who present themselves as authentic Muslims. I'll tell you something. A lot of us Paks are very ignorant of the Qadianis, for example, or the da'wah of the Qadianiyah. Okay? Aga Khan less so, and I'll tell you why. Actually, it's interesting you say Aga Khan. Aga Khan, they don't seem to have very much of a care about da'wah. They want to be known as the perfectionists and the rich and and they are the ones that got the best hospitals, best universities, look after, give lots of grants, lots of money, and they're not really they ain't got a hook. They just want to show off, and they want a little bit of allegiance and not too much questions asked about their wealth and the ruling kind of class. The Qadianis, on the other hand, are interested in converts, and they will try and target you. And I tell you something right now, that the Qadianis, not from afar, but even close, they look like on the Sunnah hardcore people. Yeah. They're like, these people are doing bid'ah, and, they're praying in the wrong way, and this is, praying in the right way. And I'm telling you, man, and I'll tell you straight, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I was with Isa the other day, and we were driving down past the one in Hume. The mosque in, or temple, whatever, nearly said mosque. Pakis don't like that, do they? They get really upset when you say that. But anyway, their centre, yeah. I was fresh in uni, just moved to new location, and I'm walking, and as I walk through, and it's Salah time. I said, sick masjid right here. Walked in, whatever. And you know how it is, the first thing you do when you walk into masjid you don't know is you study the notice board as closely as possible. Right? Now back in those days, right, 2 weeks ago I was at the Oval watching the cricket. I finished the cricket, Maghrib is really close. My target masjid is Tooting Beck Masjid. And I'm looking at the clock, and I come out of the station, did the old Google behavior. Okay, I'm not going to make this, right? It's like 10 minutes away, and Maghrib's in 1 minute. I thought, what am I going to do now? So I typed in, I typed in mosque. I typed in masjid, I thought, I was silly, hardly anything. I typed in mosque, and that showed me that one. Then I thought, let me just try and type in Islam, right? 40 meters away. Islamic Center of Ahl Sunnat, blah, blah, blah. So I looked at the spelling, trying to work it out, see if there's any double vowels, double XYZ, doing my investigation. Yep. And made a call quick, whatever, no one picked up. I said, you know what, forget it, I'm going to give it a shout. Because I'm alright. I'm from the people, you know what I mean? I'll go and pray with anyone. Yeah.
Shia or Kafir?
So, so, so I walk in. Literally, it was like 30 seconds away. It was a shop front. That's why it was so close, because it's actually onto in Broadway, or the big road or whatever it is. Anyway, knock on. Looks alright. Looks in. Walked in. Heart beating, obviously. You never know, innit? Yeah. Saw this guy at the front, leading 4 people. And you look at the people, isn't it? So I saw one Nigerian guy, and I saw a couple of Pakis. I felt better. I go, Nigerian guy is not going to be coming some dodgy behavior, you know what I mean? They're alright. They know. They're not as deviant as Pakis. Yeah? So I prayed, and I thought to myself, I think this is like a quiet, off the path Dio kind of masjid. Dio Bandi Hanafi type flex. It's going to be alright. Anyway, there was no notice board. That's the problem. You see what I'm saying? This is all coming from the notice board. When I finished, and I went to notice board, ras. It was like the Khalifat of the blah blah blah. It wasn't Qadiani, but it was some next kind of Brillo type kind of, extreme. I don't know what it was, man. But it wasn't legit.
Who was that Khalifa?
Huh? Are there? Is there? Yeah, don't feel at ease when you see one Nigerian, yeah?
Nigerians have like several
Firaq themselves.
No, I don't think it's really like Islamically deviant. Really, they're not like political khalifas in Nigeria.
Right.
I think there's one in Manchester.
Sick.
You want to go see it?
Sick.
So who was the Khalifa on the
No, it wasn't hard as far gone as the Qadianis, but they got a proper Khalifa. But you could see that it was a hardcore Brillo kind of faction. But I'm okay praying behind the Brillo. I got no problem with that. So I was alright. But I thought myself, I missed out on a proper Salah. You know what I mean? One which you enjoy and whatever. I was in the mood, watch all day with Bakwasi and tip tap test match as well. I went one day.
Got burned down.
Which got burned down?
After the guy, the Indian Victoria, they burned the mosque and one down. That one I'm pretty sure was from that time.
Really?
Yeah, Nigerian.
Monty, tell us, bro.
Big one.
How much did you think?
No, that's my point. They don't have,
You're a hater,
it's
man.
not like the Sufi. They don't have any.
Yeah.
It's as Sufi as your traditional Muslim.
Yeah. So, anyway, the point is that after I finished my Salah praying behind these people in Hume, I looked at this thingy. This is 1995, by the way. And I saw this picture of this guy, and he goes, come and meet the Khalifa of the whatever. Wallah, I didn't have a dally what was going on. I thought, Ras, these guys have got good hookups, man. They've got a Khalifa, and they've got it all organized. Masjid was so clean. People so happy. Came out, I was buzzing. I think about a week or 2 weeks later, I've told someone, listen, by the way, I've sorted. I live near a mosque, and on the way there's a mosque. They go, what mosque? I go, I couldn't remember the name, but I described it. I go, it's right where the brewery is, just behind it, turn thingy, go like that. They go,
There's no mosque there.
there's no mosque there. I said, you plumber prayed in there. He goes, that's the Qadiani temple. I said, Allah ne qasam, don't say that. So you can't tell. I don't know what we're talking about, but anyway, the point is, everybody's got to be careful. Anyway. So the third point that he wants to cover, which is at the top of page 193, he's got his da'watuhu. What is his da'wah? What is his call? This is important because the Prophet ﷺ said that when he first comes onto the scene, he will say, I am Muslim. He will call to Allah. Okay? Then he will rate Islam, talk about, propagate it. And the key thing about Dajjal is that he is super eloquent. Like he's got all of the lines. Superstar. Yeah, he's a superstar. Alright, then he will claim prophethood. And you know that these shayateen, they don't go, I'm a prophet, but they will build it up to the level where the people will say that you are a leader, and you say, okay, I'll take it. You know what I'm trying to say? And then when you're a leader, then you say that, I'm the prophet of my people in a linguistic sense, and then it turns from the linguistic into, we actually believe it then. And then he will claim divinity. And that's of course, when it goes to a whole next level. Alright? That will be his end. He will claim divinity. Fourth point, what actually is the nature of his trial, his test? Shaykh Uthaymeen says it's from the wisdom of Allah, min hikmatillah azza wa jal, that He will give him extreme power. Not normal power, extreme, huge power. So that he has the ability to bring the dead back to the life and to make the living dead as well, to cause death across the board. He will, as I said before, he will be able to make animals, produce animals. He will bring grass back, he will bring crops back, and he will call a people to himself, and they will be the poorest and the most destitute of people, and they will immediately become the most powerful and the richest physically. They will become satiated physically, meaning there will all be there'll be famines and whatever. They become satiated, their lands will become rich treasures and so on. Then there will be people who are middle of the road, and some are okay and some are not, who will refuse his da'wah, and in front of the eyes of the people they will lose everything. Their crops will die there and then. The land will become barren. Themselves they will go through a physical change as well. The hadith is very famous where the Prophet ﷺ said that he will say to the land, bring out your treasure, and the treasure will come out. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, the hadith narrated by Bukhari, hadith number 3338, the Prophet ﷺ said that he will be accompanied with something resembling hellfire and heaven. Whether it's a portal that he's walking with, that he's able to access and show people a vision or whatever it is, then we don't know. But what we do know is that his Jannah is the fire, and that his fire is the heaven. Whoever enters each one respectively with whatever desire they had, they will get the opposite thereof. So those people that refuse and he goes into the fire, you go, and they step in because there's no other choice, they're the ones who are rewarded as shuhada. The next level of his fitna, I've covered this hadith before in other classes, is that he will say to a person, accept me, and they will say, don't be silly. And his parents will have passed away. And so you say to them, what if I bring your parents back to life? This hadith is sahih. It's narrated by in the Jami' of Imam Tirmidhi. Prophet ﷺ said, he will then, from his army, there will be some devils. 2 devils will take the form of his parents, and he will bring them forth in front of this person. The narration, that's where that narration ends. The narration of Ibn Majah, which is also authentic, adds that the parents will say to the kid, this is your Lord, follow him. This is God. Now you lose your parents and you buried them yourself, and some person comes, some God comes and brings your parents in front of you, and they're telling you to worship. You're not dreaming, this is real, you've done all the tests, and it's right there in front of you. You tell me, who's going to survive that? Who's going to mentally be able to be strong at that point? How do you do that? So that's why it comes upon the worst of people. It's the worst of trials. It's the scariest of trials. No prophet didn't warn his people except about Dajjal. And we, whilst we're alive, repeat this dua every single time we pray. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min fitnatil masih ad-dajjal. It's a line that must be memorized. It's narrated by the Sunnah so many times. To the extent that out of all of the heroic nature of our deen, and we've got so many heroes in our religion, such a history, the Prophet ﷺ has already told us who the greatest of the martyrs will be. And that is referring to his own time as well. That's referring to the prophets as well. He said that the greatest of the shuhada will be a young boy. I want you to think about this now. The hadith is that this young boy will come to Dajjal and say to him, you are kafir, you are the Dajjal. You are fake, you are an imposter. The Prophet ﷺ said that he will strike him, one clean strike. Some narration says through the legs like this, others from the top. He will be split in half completely. The hadith says that he will walk. Yani it will be one swipe. في مرة الأولى. He will die. He will walk between his 2 halves. Then he will call the 2 halves, and they will then join back together. And he will look at him smiling. Yani, you thought I was a fake. You thought this was a blag. How'd you like that? And the boy will look back at him smiling as well. And he says, you really are that Dajjal that the Prophet ﷺ told us about. You really are. That's exactly what he said that you would do. And that's going to infuriate the Dajjal. Going to infuriate him. That's the last response that he was expecting. And he will strike him again to cut him again. And it will not be able to penetrate whatsoever. He will not be able, literally, the thing will break. He's like iron, steel of some sort. He's like of iron or steel. فَلَا يُصَلَّتَ عَلَيْهِ. He will try to kill him again and again and again, but he is not able to overpower him, and he will not then after that moment be able to overpower a single person. At that moment, that is the sign of the end. Isa alayhi salam then will come forth, and at that moment, and I'll come to that in a second. The hadith is narrated by Bukhari, and the number 1882.
Is this person the boy? So he's not an
We don't know his name.
He's not an adult.
We don't know his time period. All we know,
He's a boy. He's not an adult.
yes, shab. And the point for me is that I look at the youth of today, who mashallah just interested in, Fortnite, phones, baqwas, millennials, Instagram, everything. I'm still waiting for the positive to come out of the youth today. I don't know. And you read a hadith like this and you think, subhanallah, thank God that this deen has not been left in our hands. Because Allah is going to bring forth a kid who knows what he was created for. If the youth really recognize, how important they are, how this religion depends upon their work, their sacrifices, their aspirations, that a young boy is going to come and he's going to smash it. While everybody is falling left, right and center, a young boy is going to have the cojones to go up to this guy and tell it to him straight and get killed and not know whether he's being brought back or not. And when he does then come back, he's like, sick, you just confirmed exactly what I thought. And bam, that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. Alright, let's finish this off. Khamisan, the length of time that he'll be in the earth. We've covered this hadith in the chapter of Salah, right? He will be there for 40 days. The Prophet ﷺ said that he will be here for 40 days. One day will be like a year. One day will be like a month. One day will be like a week. And the rest of his days, كَأَيَّامِكُمْ. The rest of the days will be like your days. This hadith is very famous. It's part of the real long, detailed hadith narrated by Muslim. Now, we'll talk about this in a second. First of all, what does it mean that a day is like a year? Okay? What does that mean? Does it mean it's a year? So, does that mean that he's on the earth for 1 year and 74 days? If you are giving 30 days for a month, 7 days for a week, 37 remaining days, does it mean 1 year and 74? That could be one interpretation. Person turn around and say, well, hold on. The Prophet ﷺ said 40 days. Where did you get 1 year and 74? What you've done is taken his day and just basically added it to a cumulative type. So we don't know. I'll tell you what we do know. That when the companions were told this, they didn't do what I just did. Which is that 170 days? Is that X, Y, what? They didn't try to calculate it. They didn't ask for any further evidence. They didn't ask for any further explanation. Admit it. If you just heard someone say that, you're going to say, what do you mean by a year? Would that mean that, what does it mean? What happens to the sun on that day? Because we know that the sun does this and we go around and that's 24 hours. Time's going to freeze or what's going to happen? What we know is that the companion said, that day that's going to be like a year, how are we going to pray that day? How are we going to pray that day? That was their number one concern. In fact, it was their only concern, frankly. Right? That when everything all falls down, how are we going to pray? And that's, of course, a very important lesson for the importance of the prayer in their lives, but also another very important lesson. That, people spend a lot of time and energy trying to work out all this, trying to bring it back down to your scientific understanding of things. Who gives a monkeys about your scientific understanding? Or your ability to understand aslan? SubhanAllah, there's such a refreshing freedom in reading these fantastical narrations. It's so, a lot of people, they find, look at the blessing of guidance. Guidance is when you hear a statement like that and you're just thinking of the import of the statement. Misguidance is when you hear a statement of like that and you're struggling to make it fit with what you understand about life already. And you will spend that day and that week and that month and you will never be able to work it out. Tell me which genius is going to be able to work it out, how a day becomes like a year. And he won't be able to. And because he is not able to, he rejects it. Or he gives it a metaphorical meaning. Or he says it means X or Y or Z. His whole life is going to be stressed according to his own system. He thinks that the problem is in the text. That's the true misguidance. Instead of thinking that the problem is with me. Or maybe I don't know. Or maybe this is information that's going to come later. And that, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, is probably the single most important piece of advice to come from today's, in terms of your aqeedah. Never rate the things that we mentioned this yesterday. The alim al-ghayb and the alim al-shahada. We've got so much importance and weight to the alim al-shahada, when actually it's the alim al-ghayb which is more real. Absolutely. We should have more faith and confidence in that which we don't know than that which we do. Because I know that I've been tricked with what I've seen with my eyes, but I've never been tricked with what I've not seen. I've never been tricked with what Allah has told me is true. وَالنَّارُ حَقٌّ وَالْجَنَّةُ حَقٌّ وَالنَّبِيُّونَ حَقٌّ. When you see that dua of the Prophet ﷺ, this statement's amazing. I love this dua. It's a dua of such freedom when you say it. The fire is true, and the Jannah is true, and the prophets are true, and the day of judgment is true, and you are true, and the meeting with you is true. And it makes a person relaxed. Don't need to worry and stress about it. And that's why, and you've heard us speak about this before, when you look at the early scholars and you look at the big people and the big personalities of Islam, they used to have a common desire and a dua. Oh Allah, allow us to return to the religion of the old women. The religion of the old women. What does that mean? Old women don't get all this baqwas and they don't care about it. Their deen is nice and simple. That salah, sadaqah, something happened, give some sadaqah, go and pray a bit more, fast, this, that, wake up early, sacrifice, tough, deal with it, because it's rough times, good times are coming. This ain't a holiday, this is a prison. Simple life, bro. Not this philosophy, aqidah, discussing this, that, I'm a man today, woman tomorrow, gender baqwas, Flipping heck. Right. So there you go. So we don't know. Lesson is only thinking. We've got questions coming here. Lots of questions probably here. Let me just try to finish this thing because I don't want to do the Dajjal next week. SubhanAllah, he made a point. I was reading this earlier on, SubhanAllah. Shaykh Uthaymeen says, he goes, what an incredible statement Allah has said. الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي. We read this all the time. We think about all the time. Today is the day I've completed your religion and perfected my favor upon you. Yep. If you see أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ, I have completed for you your religion, your deen, which is more than your religion, it's everything in life. If you actually understand this statement, that it's been complete for you, think about this. How are you still stressed trying to understand what you don't understand when Allah has already said it is complete? It's clear if you don't understand that your understanding is incomplete. Allah has already said His system is complete. So if you don't get it, well, it can't be His because He's already said it's complete, which means you are incomplete. If we could get that message to every single person to humble their intellect and their arguments and recognize that the problem is always going to be with them and not the text, there'll be a great result for the Muslims. Bismillah.
Allahu Akbar, 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 أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن محمدا رسول 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 الله
حي على
أعوذ بالله الرحمن الرحيم محمد رسول الله
الصلاة حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله
حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. Make some space, guys. There, yeah. If you guys just let the elders, take that left hand side. If you guys all come towards me, move forward, yeah. Make some space. All right, let's go for another 6-7 minutes. Finish off this chapter and also answer some of the questions. If you go back to Ibrahim's questions, okay, he asks: Is he jinn? Is he human? Is he alive now? This is very good. And the answer is that he is human. He's from Bani Adam. Some of the scholars said he's shaitan. Some said that his mum is a jinn and his dad's a human. That's sick, innit? That's a sick combination. Why the mum jinn? That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We just quote the scholars, that's all. Anyway, all of these are not authentic, not correct, okay? He eats, drinks like everybody else. He is human, okay? And he will be killed as well in a human form by Isa alayhi salam. He is human. And he will be killed by humans, yeah. The next point is, this is at the bottom of page 199, is he alive right now? This is another myth that people talk about. He's around for millennia. Is he existing, etc., etc.? No, he's not alive, and he'll be sent whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to be sent, him to be sent. That doesn't mean that there are not minor dajjals who are sent regularly. So we have minor versions of these imposters. Call them whoever you are, the deviant people that we've seen in our history. These are the minor dajjals. We have hadith that even enumerate them, that there'll be 30, there'll be 40, etc., etc. Yes, Mukhtar. That's right. Yeah, but the interpretation of this hadith is that this was not the actual Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal, the real one. Yeah. Yeah. And so just to finish off this particular section, the question is, the Shaykh asks on the page of top of 200, that does this mean that it's obligatory to make this dua? Some scholars, Imam Ahmad in one opinion was that it is obligatory to make this dua. The majority of scholars said it's sunnah, and that's the correct position. But I just want you to know that we should not let the legal reality of this point, that it's sunnah to make this dua, make it be something there. Because you know what happens when you tell someone something sunnah, then you start to leave it. Because it's obviously, you say, oh, it's sunnah, I don't have to do it. And Shaykh Uthaymeen makes a great point. He goes, no believer should ever keep this away from himself or his prayer, it should become a part of it, even if you understand it to be sunnah, because you're leaving yourself open. Yani the Prophet ﷺ is making his dua all the time, and who's going to save you? Who's going to save you? So it's something that's got to be taken very, very seriously. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from it. Allahumma ameen. It's no joke, honestly. There's a lot of fun and fantasy around this subject. People read it with interest, but it is no joke. No joke. So let's take a few of the questions. Will all the scholars from Medina be from Ahl Sunnah? That's not the truth. No, there's no protection of that. The hadith that praises the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, by the way, which there are, the scholars of Medina, which there are hadith to that extent, do not restrict it, do not mean that all of the scholars are rightly guided or authentic in that sense. Okay? Yes, Medina has a much higher percentage of rightly guided scholars, but not all of them. No hadith says all of them, or that there's no mistakes there or whatever. Like the family of the Prophet ﷺ. A lot of people, they think that I am, Sayyid or whatever, or Sharif, right? A part of the family of the Prophet ﷺ. The family of the Prophet ﷺ has no special status unless they live up to the status. That's the simple rule. Nobody is given a status unless they live up to it. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. Okay? The Salawat Ibrahimiyya, which is Durood Sharif, okay, there are a number of versions. Sister asks, is it something that we should use by Bukhari, the one without Kama Sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim, okay? And the answer is that all of these are authentic. There's no better or not better. Whatever you use is good. And in my opinion, as I covered before, to vary them is better. To use whatever is good, but to vary them, to know them all, and to leave it out sometimes and say it, Innaka Hamidun Majid, Allahumma barik ala Muhammad, to recycle between that and say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim wa barik ala Muhammad wa ala, to recycle between them keeps it fresh, keeps your mind focused on what you're trying to say, as opposed to just becoming a drone and automatic, whatever. Come down. And then there is the question that the coming of Dajjal is still quite a bit of time before the wind. Okay? So what do you mean? So what I mean is not, I didn't say that the Dajjal will come on the worst of the people, because it's the worst of the people is the end of the day of judgment. There's still activities left. Isa alayhi salam, Mahdi, Isa alayhi salam, then there'll be the great war. But it's going to come upon the worst of the people at that time. Meaning that however rough we are, if we die before that time, then the next time is going to be worse. That's what I mean. So obviously we're getting closer to the end. It's coming to the Prophet ﷺ said that no time would come except that the time after it will be worse. So that's what I mean, that it will be the worst or worse from what time became before it. And it's very, very close. The time scale between the wind and Dajjal, people think it's a long time because there's armies and fighting, whatever. We don't know the nature of that war. People might be thinking it's a long, drawn out, hand combat, but with nuclear weapons, and you can start a war and end a war and whatever. We just don't know the actual realities of a lot of these things. We don't know the nature of the horses and the X and what the weaponry is referring to. Is it a real way? Is it not? We don't know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Any questions in class? Mesa asks, that these people who fall for the Dajjal, is it because they don't know the hadith? Come on, man, you can know every hadith in the sun. If I see someone bring my parents back up to life, emotions are clouding our judgment all the time. All the time. And what about fitna? What about power? What about those people who know the truth and they get bought out easily? They fall for a beautiful woman, or a promise of the chair, or a little bit of money. What about someone giving you real power? The Dajjal saying you can be my right hand man, or I'll make you part of my army. Are you kidding me? It's not. It doesn't just have to be, about knowing the hadith. Many people know hadith. Any questions in class? So to go back to the actual protection, apart from the dua in salah, which is the core, reciting Surah Al-Kahf, which is actually a bit more specific. It's not the recitation of Surah Al-Kahf, but the first 10 verses in one narration, and then the last 10 verses in another narration. By the way, that hadith is not the most authentic of hadith, but it's certainly something to use. Okay? Fleeing, not trying to think that we can handle it, and so on and so forth. This is all good. And the rest, in my opinion, is to remain clear and faithful to your religion. Those people who are on the fringes will always be the last one to know about this. Those people who are on it and make it their priority to be aware of everything that's happening in their life, they're not going to be taken out by Dajjal. That's the isti'adah that they've been asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. If they are not getting played by the kuffar, they're not getting played by their desires, if they're not getting tricked into sinning, because they're so aware of everything around them and they're sticking true, that is the response to the dua that they're asking for. Because how else are you going to protect yourself against him? So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always for this great protection from al-Masih al-Dajjal, Allahumma ameen, and from every fitna of al-Mahya wal-Mamat, Allahumma ameen. So next week inshallah there'll be no lesson here locally, okay? It's all going to be live online. We're going to inshallah do it from Al-Aqsa, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to enter it Salimeen and to exit it Salimeen. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring as-salam to Al-Aqsa al-Muqaddasa, Allahumma ameen. So we'll see you guys inshallah in a couple of weeks. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka Allahumma wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Guys, we need to tidy up, yeah? All this